All right, so please welcome Marit, who will be hosting our next session. Hello, Marit. Give her some more energy, energy. What are you looking forward to discuss with your panelists?
Vinyls. So it's all about the growth of the vinyl market. Is it still there? You know, limited editions. What do artists do? Labels do? And as we have quite some international guests, I'm really looking forward to get insights from different markets.
And I'm looking forward to your session as well. And once again, if you have questions, if you have remarks, you can also pop them into the Swap app and we can get to them. And if you have time to ask questions the good old analog way, obviously feel free to do so. Enjoy your session.
Thank you. So thanks for coming. I'll just do a quick introductory round, starting with me because I have the mic already. I'm Marit, I'm the general manager for Idol. It's a digital distributor, actually. I run the German office. I also have a small artist management company and run a small label. And I'm really happy to have that diverse panelist roster here on stage. And I think everyone can just introduce themselves because it's...
Hi, my name's Lawrence, and I run rough trade shops in the UK, as well as helping out with our German business and American business. We have 7 retail stores in the UK, as well as e-commerce and also event venues. And we have a shop in Berlin and also a shop in New York. And I've worked in record shops since I was 15. And I've seen the trends from the height of the CD boom, when vinyl was very little, through to the resurgence. Yeah, here we are today.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Kim. I'm the Chief Executive of the Digital Entertainment and Retail Association in the UK. We represent all the major DSPs, Spotify, Google, Amazon, but as well 300 independent high street record shops and everyone in between like HMV. I've been the CEO for 22 years, so like Lawrence, I've seen the highs and the lows.
Hi, I'm Ilya from Singapore. I'm the founder and CEO of ILY Records, which means I Love Your Records. My booth is actually, I have a pop-up booth. That's what I do, record store pop-up at the Palais. And I also do other things like record label stuff and many other things. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Zhang Zhao. I come from China, Beijing. I'm a professor of School of Music and Recording, Communication University of China. And since 2014, the Music Industry Development Research Center, which I in charge of, has started to write and release the annual report about the development music industry in China. So this year is the first time our digital music report was accepted by the Handbook of Global Music Industry. We are looking for more international cooperation, so I am be here.
Thank you. Yeah, we will get into the Chinese market a bit later on, but I wanted to start with Kim and ask you to maybe give a rough, because you deal with so many data and you're kind of the source. If you could just give us a rough overview of what the vinyl market in the UK looks like and what you can specify as like trends and yeah.
Sure, I'll try and keep it brief. So basically we've seen continual growth in the vinyl market in the UK now for 15 years. We're still seeing double-digit growth at the moment. So the value of the UK market's about £170 million last year, still growing at 10% this year. It's having a really positive knock-on effect as well for the number of independent record shops in the UK who are obviously driving that vinyl market. So from a low 15 years ago where we only had about 290 shops, we saw 460 shops last year. So I think it's all positive news for vinyl in the UK.
Cool, thanks. What about China? Because I know you also did a lot of research and data analysis. Because we over here in Europe, we don't know a lot about China, so it's really interesting to hear what's going on there.
Okay, I'm sorry because my English is not so good, so I prepare some material about the development of music industry in China. You know, as I mentioned in our reports, the extent of the music industry covers the music creation, performance, production, publish and distribute. All industry related to music production and service. You know, just the market size of China music industry has increased from 272 billion yuan in 2013 to 469 billion yuan in 2023, entering a period of rapid development. Yes, and you know, just the physical recording industry is an important part of our China music industry development report. Compared to the 72.2% high-speed growth of the overall music industry market scale, the market scale of audiovisual publishing industry has decreased from 1.3 billion yuan in 2013 to 1.2 billion yuan in 2020, down 13%. But you know, recently a retro trend has come up quietly. Also, because people want high quality sound, vinyl record has had an unexpected comeback, and the market demand for them has gone up again. In 2024, the sales of vinyl records were 925,000, and the market size of vinyl records in China reached 343.2 million yuan, with a year-on-year growth of 140%. The vinyl record market in China has shown a strong recovery trend.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think it's interesting, especially in China, where one usually thinks it's all digital. You have so many digital innovations going on, and to see that even there the vinyl growth is a thing. I think it's really interesting. One question maybe, is it mainly local repertoire, or how is the market also open for European labels to be distributed there?
In the recently, the foreign record company has looking for local vinyl record companies or distributor that have experience in Chinese market. Use the market channel to help the foreign company get into the understanding the Chinese market better. Right now, some international record company like Universal Music and Sony Music have set up deep cooperative ties with professional vinyl record distributors and labels in China. For instance, Universal Music has come out with a Beyond the Theme, a vinyl record player together with the Chinese local vinyl company Heyo Music. They also released Jack Chen's Love Spark and the Wolf Hunt on vinyl records. This is the first time the two albums were released on vinyl in Chinese mainland. And maybe, I know, as I mentioned, maybe now there are mainly 4 paths of cooperation between the foreign company and Chinese labels. The first one may be production. Chinese record manufacturer Yang Tong has caught the wave of vinyl reviewers. It has opened new production line and can press 800 record every day to supply domestic and foreign record company. foreign record company can work with Chinese manufacturer to make the supply chain better, low cost, and be more efficient. Second, maybe sale. Foreign record company can team up with the independent retailer in China to sell vinyl records through them. These independent retailers usually know a lot about music and can give personalized suggestion and details music knowledge. This can help build trust with consumer and a sense of community. The third one is technical support. Foreign record company can share the latest vinyl production, technical and market trends with Chinese partner. For instance, Making Vinyl is annual meeting that gather key players from all parts of the vinyl manufacturers and distribution industry, like recording companies, pressing factories, package experts, retailers, and fans. Yeah. The last one, okay. Last one maybe is policy support. You know, foreign record company can work together with Chinese government, can related agency to try to get policy support and benefit to help with the distribution and sale of vinyl in China. Thank you.
Thank you for the insight. So Lawrence, will you open a store in China soon? No, I'm kidding. Not a serious question. No, I actually wanted to ask you, because I mean, you run very successful record stores, and how do you explain this trend of vinyl? Is it like a shift in the consumer age or groups or gender, or what do you see? Like, where does the new audience come from?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different factors to that. I mean, on the latter point about the demographics and the audience, we've definitely seen a change. One thing that's really interesting is we're getting a lot of younger customers, and younger customers are more likely to have a more even split on gender. So 50 plus audience is generally 80% male, and 18 to 24 is 60% male. I think what's really interesting is how vinyl, has traditionally had a stronghold amongst maybe an older customer that remembers when it was, preeminent in the, 70s and 80s. But this, moving into like new demographics is great, and has been a big part of why we've been able to, be successful. And it's really encouraging. I mean, why that is very interesting. I would argue that the access of streaming is really positive, because I remember as a kid in the height of the CD age, I had to spend 150 quid to buy every Clash album, to hear them. Whereas now for £10 a month, I can listen to any song and I can discover this incredible music. But then when I want to cement my fandom and celebrate this art, rather than buying 15 CDs a year, I might buy a few records, and it is a higher transaction. You see this, people talk a lot about the value gap, right, from streaming to vinyl. And it's really interesting. I think people are buying vinyl to celebrate, what they're into. It says something about them. It's a piece of art. It's a closer representation to the artistic vision. So it's a really interesting time, and it's amazing. Kim has done amazing work with ERA supporting Record Store Day, and I think that's been synonymous with the success of vinyl over the last 10, 15 years. And also, hats off to the artists, labels, and the manufacturers, because if you look at the quality of product, I've got records in my collection from the 70s and 80s. Some of them are pretty flimsy, right? 120 gram, barely that. The product now is great. All the different variants, the special editions, and artists are putting a hell of a lot into it. We hosted 1,000 events across our UK stores in the past year, and you're getting to meet Charlie XCX and sign her record in the shop. You're getting to see up close and personal Wonder Horse playing live. This is incredible. And I think it's great to see the labels and artists investing in that. Long may it continue.
Kim, is this something that matches your experience and your data, that, additional benefits, not just, going into a store and buying a vinyl, but like special events, bands playing live, greet and meet with artists? Is that something that really drives the audience into stores?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very symbiotic, the whole thing. So, you know, people see live artists, they want to buy the product or experience them, you know, in store doing something else. They go into a record shop, they think, oh, I'll buy a ticket or I'll buy a T-shirt or whatever it is. And so I think the whole record shop phenomenon and vinyl sort of capitalizes on that superfan mentality that people really want to engage with an artist in every way possible, and different fans want to do it in different ways. But definitely everything that Lawrence said is what we're seeing at Era as well.
Thanks. Ilya, I know that you have a very special approach to your label and how you market your products and sell your products. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, what you try to do with especially the physical products?
Yeah, okay. Firstly, like I said just now, just from what I'm doing, I'm a pop-up record store. That's how record stores nowadays look like. We don't have physical spaces. We are online, we pop up, and then especially like shout out to in Singapore, one of the most important ones like Lefty Records, he does it online. And I came from Manila where it's so saturated. They are actually the Berlin of Asia. I can safely say that because I think people need to watch Philippines. Because why? Philippines are very underrated. Manila is very underrated. The music there is great. I do import-export there. And then when I do pop-ups, I'm talking about me bringing in, like for example, Delta Sleep from UK. You know, I'm a big fan of what he does, like Rough Trades. That's like the first record store I went to 10 years ago. And coming from Singapore, I mean, we all speak English and listen and consume like English music, and not just Singapore. We're talking about Malaysia, we're talking about Hong Kong, even in China. We know people might not speak in English, but we consume it. None of us probably speak Icelandic, but we listen to Sigur Rós, we listen to Björk, you know. That's what I'm trying to say as well to Filipinos, whereby you don't have to worry about the fact that the world don't understand Tagalog, you know. Like, we don't understand Mandarin, but we can still consume the music because music is universal. And will we buy it? Yeah, because we are fan and we are super fans, and we will still do it. And what I do is my approach is different because it's not just vinyl records we're talking about here, okay? When we monetize music, we have, as artists, as labels, as record stores, we have to think out of the box how we can support artists, because they are the main gold mine here, not record stores. The artists are. The one controlling everything is the music makers. And I feel like I'm a big advocate for the fact that I do not want any more starving artists. It's the 21st century. Come on. That shouldn't be the basis of everything. No more starving artists. If you starve, I starve. It doesn't make sense if record labels starve, right? So that's my first goal. When I monetize music, I need to make sure that my records sell. My artists make money. And then how they make money? Not just vinyl records. We do cassettes, we do caps, we do coffee beans, we do risograph printing, we do a lot of things because we're cute, you know? We have to do it. We have to make money as much as we can because that's how artists make money in the 21st century. 22nd, going to 22nd.
But how do you face the rising costs of manufacturing? Is that an issue, or do you have like a workaround, or is it cheaper in Singapore to produce?
Oh, Singapore is very expensive. If everybody don't know, Singapore is the most expensive place. And then we do not, if we're just talking about vinyl itself, or even, okay, CD, yeah, everybody could press CD, but vinyl, no production place, no production plants. The closest production plant, come on, we have China, and I myself, I don't know if you all know, I mean, if you're a big American football fans, we have Chinese football, and they are amazing. And they were the one, I met Zhang Bo when I was in Manila, and he was like, he understood what I wanted, and he recommended me, this is the person you should find out about vinyl manufacturing in China. And the thing is that I could easily ask people around me, but it's much more fun and exciting when a local tell me this is the person you need to go to for vinyl manufacturing, because really Singapore doesn't have, for a modern first world country, we do not have a plant, you know. And we're talking about vinyl recording vinyl records are not just for audiophiles. We're talking about from fans from just starting out to fans to super fans. Because why? That's how I feel like the generation now, especially Gen Z or after, they are big advocates of supporting their artists and making sure they make money. Look at Taylor Swift. Look at so many artists, whether independent or not, their fans know the value. Their fans know how much streaming gives. And that's why I feel like because they know, they are aware, they can read, they can research, they have the internet, they can make better decisions and more ethical decisions of how they want to support their artists. Whether it means, I mean, you can still go with Spotify. It's not their fault, okay? It's not their fault it's saturated. It's, business model, shout out, I love Spotify. But I feel like there are other modes of way for an artist to make money. Not just Spotify, not just other streaming platforms, not just like records, because there are places that we have yet to venture, like 2.5, 3 Web3 that actually does that. And I feel like what I'm dabbling on, where I am trying to build a 22nd century record label, I am actually also looking this is like shout out to Gala Music, who I'm working with. We are talking about monetizing music in the 2.5 space, Web 2.5. Yeah.
Lawrence, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a couple of things I thought, to what was being talked about. First of all, in terms of value and manufacturing, I was talking earlier on a sustainability panel, and there was a big issue around COVID, which was seen in a lot of places, but also vinyl manufacturing is old, dirty, difficult, and expensive. And there's been some great, but I take my hats off to the manufacturing community in terms of the amount of capacity they've added. It was a nightmare. If anyone worked at a label, they know what it was like, the lead times around COVID, 12, 15 months, and this caused a big issue. Now there's actually more capacity, capacity has caught up, and this is great. But it's really difficult in the UK and Ireland. 2 plants opened and found it difficult, Dublin Vinyl, which closed down, and Press On in Middlesbrough. And it's really, really challenging in terms of manufacturing. But so there is definitely more supply, but the price is certainly an issue. We saw double-digit increases in the retail price for a few years consecutively. It's evened out this year. We're seeing it flat, which is positive. Also, something that was being touched on in terms of streaming, I think something we notice is that there are some artists that we're now selling that previously maybe wouldn't have sold on vinyl or weren't discovered on vinyl because of the platform that streaming is given and the access to fan base. Equally, we see this massive difference in terms of, we as much as anyone else look at the monthly numbers. When we get a pre-sale in, who's this artist? What have we done? We got no sales history. What's the monthly streams? But there is still a really huge disparity. There are certain artists that are so much more zoned in terms of the penetration with vinyl sales. So, for example, Lancome, this great folk band from Ireland, 100,000 monthly listeners, not massive, but huge when it comes to vinyl sales. And equally, you can see artists with tens of millions streams, and it just doesn't cut through. And it's really interesting about how deep is that consumption? What is the value? It goes into, I suppose, questions about algorithmic plays and how the music's been manufactured. But some really, really interesting topics. But again, I go back to the point that overall streaming is great for record shops because it gives an access for customers, gets them interested in things. And then when they want to, celebrate that a bit more or deepen their love, then, vinyl's a great way of doing it.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like this phenomenon where bands sell out stadium tours and don't stream that well. I'm always surprised when I see that because you would think, it transfers into streaming, but sometimes it just doesn't. And I guess it's the same with vinyl sometimes as well. And also, I think it's maybe also related to this phenomenon of a super fan that's also true in the digital world, where, they say 1,000 super fans make a living for an artist. So do you think, Kim, maybe that's something for you, is that something that you can see as well, that, it's less people, but they might buy more, or is it just new people becoming super fans? Or
so I think it's really different. It's different artist to artist and fan to fan, and I don't think you can generalize. So I think some artists stream very well, some artists sell on vinyl very well. Sometimes it takes a long time for it to cut through to becoming a super fan. And sometimes it's the other way around. You have a super fan first and then they, get onto streaming 3, 4, 5 years later. So I think it's really hard to generalize. I think what you can always say is that streaming is good and vinyl is good and both feed each other. But I wouldn't like to kind of say which comes first.
And probably also live, right? Like selling merch on tour. Is that still a big thing?
For some artists and not for others. But yeah, definitely merch feeds into that superfan collector mentality that people have.
I also wanted to come back to Record Store Day. So it's been around for a long time and it's still happening, which is great. And do you see that more and more labels participate, or is it kind of still the same group, or does it spread to more countries? What's the evolution there?
So it's growing every year. It's different labels that participate. Obviously, there's the core number of labels who participate every year, but what we've definitely seen over the last few years, particularly as it's some of the smaller independent labels are realizing that it does work for them. I think there was always an impression 10 years ago that it was led by the majors and not the independents. And we spent a lot of time telling the industry that actually it's always been 75% independent, 25% major in terms of the number of titles. So it works for everyone if they've got the right exclusive product. And I think what we've always said at Record Store Day is, don't just put something in Record Store Day just because you've got a product out. Make sure it is exclusive, it is special. So if you've got that product at the right time around Record Store Day, it flies off the shelf. But in terms of numbers of products each year, it's stabilized in the UK at about 450.
Just 500.
Just 500, 460 last year, but it did go as high as about 650 a few years ago, and that was probably too many for a lot of the stores to handle. But it is growing in terms of number of territories as well. It doesn't always have a professional organizer running it in those new territories, so it generally starts small. I think the UK and US and Germany and things are ahead of the curve because we've always had a coordinator running Record Store Day, which makes it a lot more professional, allows us to bring in sponsors, allows us to curate the product somewhat better. But yeah, it's going from strength to strength.
And also as a participator in Record Store Day, and I remember, I think, was it 2007? Around then, the first one? I remember a smattering of people waiting outside, and now I know the thousands of people that be queuing around the block at Truman Brewery for us to open. It's absolutely incredible. And every year I go through this sort of process of like, oh, it's not going to be as big as last year. But it really does highlight the passion of the customers, the fans. And, it's a great celebration of the culture. And I have to say, Kim's right about, we've also spoken to indie labels about trying to get more engagement, because I think it's important, particularly for some of those bigger labels, bigger indie labels, to support Record Store Day and not feel that it's been hijacked, as some people would say, by the majors. And also, for the majors, look, Universal, the last few years have made sure that Taylor Swift, Noah Khan, Olivia Rodrigo release Record Store Day product. That's what people are queuing up for first. And it's amazing to create those fans of those artists, then make a connection to their local record shop. That's brilliant, and we noticed this year when we're analyzing the sales, some of that traditional sort of maybe older punk rock titles, they're not the best sellers. It really is driven by this new wave, of younger artists, both indie and pop. And that's super important, because if we don't do that, where's the next generation?
And is that also part of your business decision? I mean, you just opened a store here in Berlin. So I was wondering, what was the thought behind it? Like, was it okay there, smaller stores are closing, we want to jump in and bridge the gap? Or what was the initial thought behind it?
Yeah, we always wanted to have a shop in Europe outside the UK, and Berlin was always the #1 city for obvious reasons. And so we're super proud to bring that and to develop it. And also there are technical reasons because of Brexit and all the logistical issues that brings. So I mean, it's very interesting, what our brand means in different markets is very different. So adapting that and making sure we get it right is an ongoing process.
But is there like a German approach to it, or is it just, you just open another store? Because I wonder, if we run an international chain kind of stores, is it like the main strategy, or do you adapt to the markets? Are the markets actually different, or?
Yeah, I mean, they're massively different, and we try to invest in each, which is a significant extra cost. We try to do it justice in terms of investing in the local infrastructure. So, we have a proper team. We're buying from the local distributors rather than just importing. We're trying to engage with local artists, but obviously fit with our philosophy and history. So yeah, that's absolutely the approach we're taking. And, that's in many ways tougher and a longer road than maybe taking an easier approach. It's really interesting. I mean, seeing the dynamics of how, different companies work in different territories, it's fascinating. And
Can I ask Lawrence, just so you know, RSD Record Store Day is huge in Singapore, and not just Singapore, like Southeast Asian, where I come from. Do you have plans to open in Southeast Asia? Because really, we want to do it, but we don't have stores. So we use the last HMV closed down years ago, and our independent stores are all we've got, and we are all queuing up non-stop. So I was just curious, do you have plans to open in Asia?
I mean, short answer is no. Long answer is Rough Trade historically is, I know not in Southeast Asia, but had a store in Tokyo. It's had stores in Paris. So we're definitely open to ideas about working with partners in different territories, whether that's through a franchise model or wholesale model and different things. So we're definitely open to conversations, but we want to make sure that we can do it properly and obviously, respect the differences in each market.
Thanks.
Maybe Ilya, coming back to a DIY approach and label work. So I assume you don't have a physical distributor.
Sorry?
Do you have a physical distributor?
I am the distributor as well.
Okay.
Yeah, because I am building my own record label, and for me, as of now, I am my distributor. But I do understand, because I come from the magazine distribution line, so I understand territorial. What do you call it, territorial control, or certain areas. I'm not sure whether that works with records. Maybe you can answer these questions on whether there's territorial restrictions. Correct, that's the word. Restrictions for different regions like UK, because that works for magazine, does that. So if there are territorial restrictions, I can't distribute myself. I probably will have to go the correct channels. And if I want to go to big channels, for example, as a small label, as a small label, and I want to distribute to bigger channels, say, for example, Rough Trades, or if I want to go into Tower Records in Japan, I have to go the correct channel to distribute my stuff. But I do work with also a distributor for my digital stuff, which is currently a new. They're not new. I don't know if you probably have heard Symphonic. They're US based, but they're big on independent. They've been around for so long. Not DistroKid, not CD Baby, but they just recently in July or June just launched in Asia, and their main hit person is Guji. My guy in Philippines. Shout out to him, because he's very big on independent. Just he represents independent, and he wants to vouch for independent. And at the same time, Symphonic is also doing that. That's why they are supporting me, a small starting out label. Yeah, but I think who I work with is very important. They have to have the same vision and mindset with me, because only if people understand where I'm coming from, they will understand the push that we are doing right here. So it's really important who is your distributor, who you're working with, and whether they meet your ethics, whether they meet your same vision. So that's when I don't have to convince my artists. They know that I'm 100%, 111% behind them. Yeah.
Kim, do you have any insights on the growth or the decrease of limited editions? Because I feel with the manufacturing costs going so high now, that labels are a bit held back on going for big numbers and maybe limited, also to make it more valuable in a way, so that fans know, okay, I got one of 100 or for 500.
So I think we're seeing more and more exclusives and more limited product coming onto the market. So I think what you tend to see is more smaller runs. So people are doing maybe 300 to 500 units in the UK of really limited, high quality, good product that you have to go to a specific shop or a specific group of shops to buy. So there's no slowdown in terms of the number of exclusives, but I do think there is a bit of nervousness that there are maybe too many now coming out throughout the year, and therefore it's making it less special. So I think as retailers, sometimes I think we would argue less is more. Don't over-manufacture. Keep it, a bit less than the number of fans that you have so that it keeps that exclusivity.
Yeah, I completely concur with that. Something I said earlier is like, I think big part of the success is vinyl it's a finite product. Streaming is, access to everything all the time, and you should kind of embrace that a bit. And in a weird way, I know you kind of want to undersupply the market even by 10% and just keep that excitement to come back, and also the fact that it might sell out, so I need to. And if there are numerous risks in our industry, but I think it could be, you could accuse me maybe of playing both sides here, but I think there is a risk of too many variants kind of burning customers out. And you look at the phenomenon with Taylor Swift, and how many times do you have to buy that album to get all of them? And then you can buy the 4 LP set just from Target to actually get all those songs that you already bought on 27 different variants that were available for 12 hours. I know obviously she's in a different world and phenomenon, but that is happening, to some extent, and with lots of artists, and there's a fine line there, isn't there? And I do think we have to be a little bit careful of burning the customer and then becoming kind of a bit, they could get cheesed off about it.
And it's also expensive. I mean, you have to pay for storage with the distributor, and then if they don't want it anymore, it will be destroyed. You have to pay again. So for the labels, it's expensive too, not just manufacturing, but also having too many lying around.
And I think they learn by their mistakes. I think, if you go and manufacture 3,000 units just because you think, I might be able to get rid of these, and 1,500 lie around in a warehouse or get shipped back to you, you're not going to do that next time round. So, but obviously the music industry is always difficult. You never know how an artist is going to perform. And on Record Store Day, we quite often find the ones we are not necessarily that excited about suddenly fly off the shelf, and we wish we'd made more of them. But
like the Bluey soundtrack from a few years ago. That was quite a surprise.
Can I add on? I just have a question for you about we were talking about variants and the variants of vinyl, right? Do we how does variant do you have exclusive? How there's sometimes German exclusive vinyl, UK exclusive vinyl release. Is there such a thing as China exclusive release? Because in Japan they do have it, whereby the record is, for example, if it's an English band, then they will translate everything into Japanese just for the Japanese market, right? How about in China? Do you recommend? I'm just asking from my own experience. Do you recommend having an exclusive China version?
Oh, maybe you miss I have no idea, maybe so bad. But, I just mentioned the development, but now I just want to talk about a more trend or a challenge in China, in vinyl record market in China. So, just overall, as present, the main audience of the vinyl recording market in China, apart from white lovers, also include some new fans who have entered the market. The fans really care about the works of a singer and are willing and able to buy vinyl records for listening or collecting, for reasons like getting limited edition vinyl records with signature. In China, the increasing commercial vinyl records market is not just a medium for enjoying music anymore. It has also become an important part of fan culture and even a symbol of status. Overall, in recent years, the vinyl record industry in China is show all new development features. The market size keep getting better, bigger. The consumer are not just the traditional high-end music lovers anymore. More young people are getting involved because they love richer culture and have high demand for sound quality. the type of products are also getting more varied. They are not only reprint of classical record, but also many limited edition and special editions. This meets the personalized needs of different consumers. The rise of online sale platform has also made it easy to buy vinyl records and push the market to growth and thrive even more. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I think I got the sign that we have to wrap it up. Are there any questions from you guys? No? Then, yeah, thanks so much. Maybe one last word, because I was really happy to see, I don't know if you guys saw the Listen to Berlin award show last night, and the prize for sustainable business went to Pressing Factory based in Berlin, who uses renewable energy. They try to do everything sustainable. They use recycling materials, which I think is a really great sign, because, I mean, to be honest, it's still a pretty dirty business, the vinyl business. So it's really nice to see that there are initiatives and businesses really jumping on that and trying to make the industry more sustainable.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of work going into that. There's a lot of new compounds. There's a bio vinyl made from cornstarch, which is evolution. Hasn't quite gone to scale, but there's also, improved processes on the PVC compounds, as it is. And yeah, there's a lot of attention. And I think, like Coldplay's latest campaign, Shone a Light, they did quite a lot of good with that. So yeah, it's really interesting, because that is existential risk. It's inherently quite a, intensive product. It's a 12-inch of PVC, which is put in shrink wrap and shipped around the world. So it's really great to see, some steps forward on that.
I will add on, because I do risograph. If you, I'll pass you some of my cards later. I'm a big risograph fan. If you don't know, risograph is basically screen printing, but using a photocopying machine, and we use soy-based ink on only. We use matte paper. We can't use shiny glossy paper, and I think what I'm going for is increasing. I didn't do it out of wanting it to be exclusive, increasing the value of my records. For me, I did it just because I love risograph. I love the aesthetic. I love the art. I love the value of it. And for me, I have to put the value in it, which is different. I don't think many people have done risograph printing on vinyl. It's quite troublesome, and it's A3. If it's only A3, you can't do 12-inch. You have to only do 9-inch and smaller. But just the whole idea is that sometimes you don't have to go digital. Like for me, at least, I do things very different. I do what I want to do. So as a DIY label, I do risograph printing. My idea that I came about was about how I can merge risograph with vinyl printing and make it exclusive and increase the value, so that what I am doing, small prints, which is also costly, it has a value, and I can make sure, if I do my math correctly, that my artist will earn, I will earn, and just the whole, it's just fun. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I hope you enjoyed the panel, and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marit, for hosting this beautiful panel. It was definitely very insightful. If any of you have a connection to Sade, I'm still waiting on her vinyls to resurface, because they are always sold out. I don't know who's responsible. Sade? Yeah. I would love their vinyls still. If anyone has that was supposed to be a joke, but it didn't work out. One of those. But anyhow, this has been a very insightful, quite mind-boggling day, and I'm definitely leaving with way more questions than I came. I hope the same applies to you. I hope if you have questions that you still want us to work on, or maybe pick up another format, another time to discuss, to work on them, and ideally find solutions. Because personally, I love being in a space discussing urgent matters, but not just to discuss, but really to progress and really to continue some kind of process. And that's what we're here for. So I hope you take the time to really let it all sink in, pop it into swap cards if there's anything you want to really continue working on. Network, so maybe say hi to somebody you didn't arrive with. And I hope you will have a great time. My name is Shannon. I had the pleasure of hosting today's stage. And we hope that you are inspired to find ways, find allies on how to monetize your art. And obviously, share with your peers, share with the ones who weren't able to make it here. And otherwise, we will have more program from 8 onwards. Obviously, Most Wanted Music is about music, and we're here for the live artists. So later on, we're going to have Donata on stage. Afterwards, it's going to be Izzy and the Black Trees. And, forgive me if I don't say that right, Athena's? Anybody? Yeah? Forgive me if I butchered that. And nevertheless, if you see me around, and please say hey. Please say hey to the panelists if you have further questions, because obviously we have great specialists here. And this is it for me today, and hopefully you'll have a great rest of your evening. Do take care.